Before it became the film everyone knows, The Sound of Music was a simple idea. What if the strictest house law in Austria was taken over by singing? Set against the breathtaking Alps, the film follows Maria, a nun in training, who loves music a little bit too much, and she's sent to look after the 7 children of Captain von Trapp, a man so serious he actually whistles orders. Nestled in the heart of Salzburg, St. Peter's Cemetery is one of the oldest and most visually striking cemeteries in Europe. With its flower-filled courtyards, ancient stone arcades and dramatic alpine surroundings, it feels almost timeless, like stepping into a painting. For many visitors, this peaceful location carries a deeper meaning. It is not only a place of history and reflection, but also closely associated with one of the most iconic films ever made, The Sound of Music. And now, it's over to me, your YouTube host, for a quick word or two. Hello, I'm John, and welcome to John's Music Box, my YouTube channel, and in this, the April edition of the Sound of Music calendar 2026, which I happened to buy in Salzburg last summer, to be featured in this edition, is right here, St. Peter's Cemetery, as you can see. Just show you a close-up, there's a little bit of reflection. And what is so significant about St. Peter's Cemetery when it comes to the sound of music? So St. Peter's Cemetery inspired director Robert Wise, and it was rebuilt for the scene in which the family hides behind tombstones but gets discovered by Rolf. So that's the background to that, and you'll find out exactly who Rolf is. And by the way, if you want to watch the previous editions, they are on this channel. So here we have the Cathedral Fortress. This was featured in January. In February, it was about the real Maria at Nonnberg Abbey. And last month, the church in the town of Mondsee was featured. So now, for the rest of the video, sit back and have a listen to the information regarding this image, and I'll be back at the end of the video for a summary. It's a cemetery steeped in history. St. Peter's Cemetery dates back to around the 7th century, making it one of the oldest continuously used burial grounds in the German-speaking world. It is closely connected to St. Peter's Abbey, a monastery that has been a spiritual centre in Salzburg for over 1,000 years. The cemetery developed alongside the abbey, serving generations of monks, citizens, and notable figures. The layout is both intimate and striking. Arcaded tombs line the walls, with ornate wrought iron crosses and carefully tended flowers adding colour and life to the space. Carved into the rock face nearby are ancient catacombs, reminders of the area's deep religious roots. Among those buried here is Nannerl Mozart, linking the cemetery to Salzburg's rich musical heritage. Despite its function, the atmosphere here is not heavy or dark, but calm and reflective, a place where history quietly lives on. So what's the connection to the sound of music? For many people, St. Peter's Cemetery is most closely linked with the sound of music, particularly one of its most suspenseful scenes. In the film, the von Trapp family escapes from Salzburg and hides in a cemetery to avoid capture by Nazi officers. As soldiers search the area, the family remains hidden behind the tombs, barely daring to breathe. But they are not alone. A young messenger named Rolf Gruber discovers them. Rolf is a complex and important character in the story. Earlier in the film, he is portrayed as a kind of somewhat awkward boy who delivers telegrams and shares a gentle connection with Liesl, the eldest von Trapp's daughter. However, as the political situation changes, Rolf becomes involved with the Nazi regime. How about Rolf's role in the cemetery scene? The cemetery scene becomes even more powerful because of Rolf's presence. When he finds the family hiding among the graves, there is a moment of intense uncertainty. He recognizes Liesl and she recognizes him. Their shared past creates a brief emotional connection in the middle of a dangerous situation. At first it seems as though Rolf might help them escape, but instead he hesitates and then calls out, alerting the soldiers. This moment marks a turning point for his character. It shows how deeply he's been influenced by the political forces around him, and how fear, loyalty or ambition can lead people to make difficult and painful choices. For the audience, it is a moment of betrayal, but also one of tragedy. Rolf is not simply a villain, he represents the way ordinary people can be swept up in larger events beyond their control. Behind the scenes reality. Although this scene feels incredibly real, it was not filmed at St. Peter's Cemetery itself. Filming in such a sacred and historic location was not permitted, so the filmmakers recreated the cemetery on a Hollywood soundstage. They carefully designed the set to reflect the look and atmosphere of places like this, capturing the arches, the enclosed garden, and the sense of quiet isolation. Even so, the influence of St. Peter's Cemetery is clear. Walking through it today, visitors can easily imagine how it inspired the filmmakers and helped shape this unforgettable scene. Today, St. Peter's Cemetery remains an active place of burial and remembrance, continuing its role as a spiritual and historical site in Salzburg. At the same time, it's become a destination for visitors from around the world. Many come for its history and beauty. Others come because of its connection to the sound of music and the dramatic story that unfolds in a setting like this. For fans, the cemetery offers a way to step into the world of the film, not as a filming location, but as a real place that reflects its atmosphere and emotion. Visitors are reminded, however, that this is still a place of quiet reflection, and it is treated with the respect it deserves. St. Peter's Cemetery is a place where history, faith and storytelling come together. Its ancient stones preserve centuries of memory, whilst its beauty continues to inspire visitors from across the world. For fans of The Sound of Music, it represents one of the film's most powerful moments, a scene filled with tension, emotion and difficult choices. The presence of Rolf Gruber adds a human dimension to that moment. His decision reminds us that history is not just shaped by heroes, but also by ordinary individuals facing extraordinary circumstances. Standing here, it is easy to imagine the silence, the fear, and the courage of the Von Trapp family, and the choices that changed their fate. And in that way, this peaceful cemetery becomes more than just an historical site. It becomes part of a story that continues to resonate across generations. Now it's back to me, your YouTube host. There you have it. I hope you found it interesting. If you've been to Salzburg or to the region, tell me what you think in the comments. I've been there. It is so beautiful. There's also the Sound of Music tour if you're really into that kind of stuff. And The Sound of Music is a film made in the year in which I was born, 1965. That's why it's so special to me, although I didn't watch the film until 1982 on a VCR video. Okay then, so next month in May, it's going to be the next part of the calendar to be featured. No spoilers. Thank you very much for staying to the end of this video. Be sure to like or dislike, add the comments as I mentioned, and I'll see you again in another video on John's Music Box.